Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that Alberta's going to separate? I keep hearing that they want to. I keep hearing that they can't because Canada's a federation. But then other people say they can. Let me know what you think in the comments about that as well. And any information that you do have, please pass it along as well because I'd like to learn more about this. I just keep reading things that kind of, they can leave, they can't leave, they can leave, they can't leave. It's like, okay, which one's true? But either way, I do have a video here from Rebel News. I know some people don't like them, but it's an interesting topic that I've been thinking about for a while, but I just want to have a look and see what they have to say. Then I'll go over a few other things, and I'll leave it at that. You guys can respond in the comments, but let's have a look at this first.
Are frustrated. I think that they were hoping for a big change, and they didn't get it last night.
Alberta just opened the door to separation, and we are done getting screwed. Mark Carney is Prime Minister. Ontario, Quebec, Atlantic Canada, they handed him a minority, rewarding a decade of Liberal corruption with a fourth term. The West, regardless of how hard we vote Conservative, we're irrelevant again. We've been here before, forced into policies we didn't vote for, led by a man we didn't elect, governed by people who think Alberta exists to be taxed, scolded, and then shut down. But this time, Alberta's doing something different. Because the very next day, Danielle Smith's Conservative government here in Alberta introduced a bill that could change everything.
We are expanding opportunities for Albertans to be involved in direct democracy by making changes to the threshold needed for successful citizens' initiatives. The signature collection time for citizens' initiatives will be extended from 90 days to 120 days. We are also improving the process by setting the threshold to be 10% of the number of eligible voters who participated in the last general election, as opposed to being either 10 or 20% of total registered voters.
Head to donegetingscrewed.com to learn more. Grab your Western First merch and fuel the journalism, like polls and billboards that actually stand up for Alberta, where we'll be fair and representative of who and what we are. Now, buried in Alberta's Election Statutes Amendment Act is a change that makes it possible, finally, for regular Albertans to trigger a binding referendum on separation. The Citizen Initiative Act has been on the books for a couple of years, but it was a fraud. It required 600,000 signatures in 90 days, 20% of all eligible voters. That's not a citizen petition, that's a brick wall. But now, Smith's government cut the threshold in half and changed the calculation to 10% of voters from the last election. According to constitutional lawyer Keith Wilson, that's fewer than 200,000 signatures. And instead of 90 days, the time frame is now 120. Now let me be clear. This isn't a meme, it's not wishful thinking. This is a legal path to a question on independence, and it just became achievable.
Well, I think Albertans are hurt and betrayed. That's how I think Albertans are feeling. I think Canada as a whole got a sense of that feeling of hurt and betrayal with the way the Americans are treating us right now. But we've been treated that way for the last 10 years. Treated like our interests don't matter, treated like our economic imperatives aren't important, treated like we should be just shut up and just be satisfied with whatever the central government decides to do, regardless of whether it's constitutional or not. I think that's what you were seeing in this last election. And I think Albertans want to share my view that we want to be able to have Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada. But we also would like to see Team Canada be on Team Alberta for once.
This isn't about bluster. It's about options. And it's about leverage. It's about Alberta saying, we're done getting screwed. And that's why we're launching donegetingscrewed.com. It's where you can support fair-minded journalism on Western alienation and the growing push for real autonomy and even independence. We'll talk about things only Quebec is allowed to consider in polite circles. It's where you'll find honest reporting that the Laurentian press won't touch. It's where you can say, we've had enough. We're not here to blow smoke. We're here to tell the truth. Because the next time Ottawa tries to grab our guns, kill our industries, or ram through their globalist vision, we'll remind them of one number, 200,000 or less. That's all it takes now. And the West, we're done getting screwed. We're not going to tell people who want out, 1/3 in the West, to shut up. We're not going to tell them they're fringe or radical because they're bigger than those who vote for the NDP and Carney here. And you ignore them, at your peril. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid.
So, I mean, it's interesting, right? So it's 177,000 signatures. But that being said, if that's only 10%, couldn't the other 90% or however many percentage of people don't want to leave sign a counter petition? It sounds hard for me to believe that 10% of the voting eligible population can decide to separate. Or at least start the process. Again, I know nothing about this. I'm just kind of wondering out loud. It's a hot topic right now, and I'm very curious about it. Will it happen? Can it happen? Is the 10% signatures just to get things started, and then it goes to other votes or whatever after then, and then you need like a majority to leave? I don't know. I'm very curious about it. That being said, here's some of the things that have upset Albertans. Trudeau, elected in 2015, canceled Northern Gateway. Bill C-69, no more pipelines. Bill C-48, anti-tanker, killed Energy East, funds anti-Alberta oil investment groups. Alberta in a recession with 10% of Canadian population still largest contributor to Confederation. And now they're showing the equalization payments. I mean, I think that these are the equalization payments. Alberta has been by far the largest contributor to Canada's fiscal balance. Yeah. It's a lot of money. There's hundreds of billions, or well over $200 billion there. And the equalization payments they have to pay every year, it's ridiculous. And now you have Stephen Crowder, who is an American, but technically Canadian. He's going to give his 2 cents here. I don't know how many people of you are fans of his, but let's have a listen and see what he has to say.
Author raged at the Alberta Premier, Danielle Smith, for wanting to expand your own pipelines.
Jeez.
Why? Wokeness. Cultural Marxism. In other words, it's the lifeblood of your economy. You have the right to that. Not according to people in Toronto and Ottawa.
They hate you.
They wrote this: if Smith has any sensitivity to people elsewhere in Canada, including Indigenous peoples,
oh, Lord,
who might object to having pipelines traversing their land, she doesn't show it. I mean, how much Windex do you guys need to huff? You can't have pipelines going through your land. You know this benefits everybody. Well, should we go back to living off the land and hunting the buffalo to extinction and having zero respect for nature, burning all of our crap and trash like many Native American tribes did? Or should we go back to their law of the land where they were warring with each other and scalping women and children alive? You guys looked into the Algonquin and Iroquois, these are the primary tribes in eastern Canada. That's where I was raised. I don't necessarily...
All right, we're getting a little bit off topic here, but I thought he would have given more of an input. But that being said, it's... Alberta's hurt. They feel pissed off. They feel unrepresented. They don't have as many Senate seats, and they have a decent-sized population. But they just feel represented or unrepresented. They feel betrayed. They feel like Team Canada is excluding the West. And, being in Ontario, I mean, I know people who look down at people who are from Alberta. They think they're just hillbillies or they're not smart. But meanwhile, these dummies out here in the East voted in Mark Carney. So who's the stupid ones here? That's the thing about, it seems like the left is really, like, they stick up their nose at people. And it's really, that used to be like the right wing. When I was younger, a lot more right wingers would do that. But everything's switched. There's like a massive realignment. But either way, Alberta seems like they want to start the process. Now, is it 10% of people, 20% of people? Like, how many people out there actually want it? I know there's a lot of people, but percentage-wise, you're probably going to need, 60% or so to do anything and secede if you're allowed to leave the Canadian Federation. If they want to join America and be the 51st state, I mean, that could get interesting. Right now, Donald Trump gets involved with that. Money talks. America has a lot of it. Who knows? They always say that Pierre Poilievre was going to sell off Canada to America. And remember, when liberals say things, it's almost always confession by projection. When they criticize other people, for example, of being racist, they're the ones who invite a Nazi and give him a standing ovation in Parliament. That wasn't the Conservatives. That was them. So, Maybe when they say that Pierre Poilievre was going to sell off Canada, maybe that's what they're going to do. And Alberta would be a great start because say goodbye to the equalization payments and all those liberal Ontarians with their nose stuck up. Well, now you just lost hundreds of millions of dollars every year. So I don't know. There's a lot of people who are upset, maybe acting over emotional right now. That being said, personally speaking, right, my opinion, I want Alberta to stay. If Alberta doesn't stay, we're going to be liberal forever, right? I mean, you can't expect people from Quebec and Ontario to wake up. You know, I want this country to stay united and to be Canada. We need a change, and we need to start respecting Alberta. This is what they're saying. And if we want to maintain a relationship with them, we got to do some of what they want. It can't just be, well, Toronto and Montreal decides every election, and then therefore they decide who goes to Ottawa, and therefore they get their way. I mean, if you look at the electoral map, Toronto and Montreal were just, it was all red. You got to crack the red walls in those cities if you want to break through. And if Alberta left, we'd have to it'd have to be like 50-50. And Toronto's just never going to be 50-50 conservative. At least not from what we're seeing projecting the future. I mean, they're very liberal people. Although, to be fair, the younger ones seem to lean a little bit conservative, so maybe things will change eventually, but with those liberal boomers around, they're going to vote liberal forever. But we'll see. There's a lot of uncertainty right now what's going on with the Conservative Party. We don't really have an idea when we're going to have another election. It could be 4 years, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, I don't know. But people are panicking, they're hurt. And for those stuck-up liberals who want to start laughing at us, well, you're going to be hurt too very soon. You just don't realize it yet. You have no idea who you just elected into Parliament. You have no idea who you just elected as Prime Minister, but you're going to find out really soon. And I bet a lot of people are going to have buyer's remorse. But either way, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Any information regarding Alberta's separation, whether they can or can't, would be very helpful to me. I want to do as much research as possible, but everything I've seen so far is just contradicting itself. So I have no idea. Please let me know. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps grow the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back shortly with a new video.